This comes down to public safety.
You were called a racist.
It was not just racist. They called me racist with a big B.
The census will ask, are you a U.S. citizen? That's it.
They're trying to scare people. This is an intimidation tactic.
Moments ago, President Trump tweeted, received message last night from Xi Jinping that Kim looks forward to his meeting with me.
I remember this guy, an illegal immigrant, laughing in court about killing 2 California sheriff's deputies. Well, the jury now recommending the death penalty for his heinous crimes.
A former Supreme Court justice who says those folks are not going far enough. He wants to take away your right to bear arms.
Your words and your ultimate wish list is a disgrace to America and the values that we all hold dear.
There's some cloud cover over Midtown Manhattan. Welcome aboard, folks. Live for the second hour of Fox and Friends, the world's #1 cable morning news show. As you know, thanks to you.
I hope you're waking up in a really good mood. No matter your circumstances, just say today's going to be a great day. Don't let anyone get you down.
Exactly. And please get dressed.
Please get, yes, it would be good for you to wear clothes to work.
Right. That's my suggestion, but it's not a demand.
At this point.
It depends on where you work.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We got a Fox News alert. The president has been up and he's been tweeting already this morning, speaking out after a historic meeting between Kim Jong-un of North Korea and the Chinese president Xi.
This ahead of his own summit with the North Korean dictator.
And then I think the president was briefed on that whole meeting, so this is going to be interesting to see what this means. Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with more on the president's response. So the first thing the North Korean leader is going to do is meet with South Korea, and then we assume it could be President Trump in May, right, Griff?
That's right. So the South Korean meeting would be in April. And look, this is playing out in real time, this remarkable story, guys. First, state-run media out of China reported on this historic meeting. The first time the dictator gotten out of the Hermit Kingdom and talking about that the Kim wanted the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. But the president, as you mentioned, is wide awake, confirming things and tweeting about it. First, in the last hour, tweeting for years and through many administrations, everyone said that peace and the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula was not even a small possibility. Now there's a good chance that Kim Jong-un will do what is right for his people and for humanity. Look forward to our meeting. Then he continued minutes later, received message last night from Xi Jinping of China that his meeting with Kim Jong-un went very well and that Kim looks forward to his meeting with me. In the meantime, and unfortunately, maximum sanctions and pressure must be maintained at all cost. Yesterday, guys, Sarah Sanders saying that those sanctions were what brought Kim to the negotiating table in the first place. And Heather Nauert over at the State Department is confirming that plans for this meeting are proceeding. And Brian, to your question, she says that they're trying to stay on that timeline, which is the end of May, but we'll find out.
Right.
Clearly, remarkable developments here in the last 24 hours.
And Griff, a couple of things. We saw Gordon Chang last hour say, I think this is a bad thing. I think it's a logical thing. I think it's a good thing. If you're this 30-year-old leader, you've never met with another leader before, basically, and you have a big meeting with South Korea and with us, and they're going to hopefully come to the table with big moves. And if they don't have the backing of China, or dare I say, the advice of China, I think it's a logical move.
Yeah, I do too.
And Griff?
Well, it's very interesting, too. Gordon Chang also saying that, you know, it was all kept secret because that he would have to have feared a coup in his country while Kim Jong-un was out of the country.
And plus, no planes. He had to take a train.
Well, that's the way that the family has always traveled to China. Griff, it's interesting, though, because what we got from those 2 tweets was the president of the United States actually confirmed something we presumed, which was he made the trip, and the president said, yep, he made the trip, and he brought me a message. So, all cool.
Thank you, Griff. Well, out in the state of California, there's been some backlash because that state is a sanctuary state, and there are some residents there, as Brian's been saying for all these months, because you talked to some people out there who said they're not for this. They want more regulations, more laws when it comes to illegal immigration, because the state is saying they don't want ICE to be able to come in and make sure that that state is safe.
That's right. And so last night, a final vote 4-0, the OC, the Orange County Board of Supervisors, voted to go ahead and join the U.S. Department of Justice in suing the state of California because they've got 3 state laws that essentially say don't cooperate with ICE and other things, and they say those are unconstitutional. The one of the supervisors who spoke to Brian just a little while ago said, look, the reason we are voting to join the federal government is because it comes down to safety. The folks have got to be safe.
In Orange County, that since January 1st to March 19th, we released criminal aliens, about 172 people on the street. So this comes down to public safety. So we really have to fight against this bad law. I think we led the way. So, we're going to have more counties to joining us. All together, you know what, we're going to fight for this bad law.
And she brought up Newport is right on the heels. Newport's in Orange County technically, but they have their own police force. Yorba Linda perhaps is lined up to do it. Fresno State, the area, Fresno County, also there.
Los Alamitos.
Think about this. Look at the size of California. How do you possibly think that every one of those Californians believe that it should be a sanctuary state, a magnet for illegals, while the taxes are going through the roof, and the only thing growing are 10 cities in the major cities. Like the people of Pennsylvania, they feel hostage many times to the beliefs of Philadelphia, a major dense city. And I'm not saying they're not smart. I'm saying there's a lot of people. They're saying, and I think a lot of people feel hostage to San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Well, the sheriff, she said it's not about immigration at all, just like the supervisor that you interviewed. It is about safety, and that's why she's come up with this database. It's called Who's in Jail. It's a list that's going to tell you when the inmates are released, the day and the time.
Right. And that was the problem with the Kate Steinle case, because that guy who ultimately killed her out on that pier when he grabbed that gun, they didn't tell ICE, we're going to let this guy out that time. Now they're eliminating that. Meanwhile, Tommy Lahren was on with us just about a half an hour ago, and she says citizens will now make their voices heard because, once again, just like our previous soundbite, it's all about safety.
There are a lot of areas here that, of course, believe in shielding illegal immigrants, but there are many Californians that do not believe in that. And now the battle that's going on, the Sheriff's Department in Orange County has it exactly right. They are protecting Americans first. That should be logic and reason. I hope other places follow suit. I think now they will be emboldened to do so. I think citizens are going to stand up. They're going to make their voices heard. I think they're going to go against all the labels and all the name calling, and they're going to make sure that their families are safe in California.
But in the short term, is the sheriff in trouble? The attorney general was asked yesterday, is you going to go arrest the sheriff? He says the state law is the state law. We want to make sure that every jurisdiction, including Orange County, understands that. And then he said, well, are you going to arrest the sheriff? His answer was, I just answered that.
Right.
So are they going to make a sensationalistic arrest?
What if she's following federal laws, though?
Well, she is. Besides, ultimately, this is going to go to court. But a moment ago, we put up on the screen that big map that shows the anti-sanctuary cities and counties in California. If you're in the country illegally, are you going to wind up going to any of those towns? No, you're going to go to the one. There's the map right there. If you're planning on going into the country illegally, you're not going to go to Los Alamitos or Orange County or Yorba Linda, or you mentioned Fresno, any of those places. You're going to go somewhere else where they're not going to call ICE.
Right.
I'd like to add this. I did speak to someone at the White House yesterday. And I said, what is the clarification on the wall? They say, depends on what it is with concrete. He says you can, in San Diego in particular, where the wall has been, you cannot challenge this. It's been very effective. You can make a concrete wall in San Diego. That would begin
with that 1.6?
Yeah, with part of the 1.6, which is really 650.
The model that they use, the recreation of the wall, has got to be something before the prototypes, so they can build any kind of fencing, or a wall, if you want to call it that, as long as it's not one of the 8 new ones that the president wants.
That is protecting the border, protecting our schools. That's also obviously been a big topic. That's why you had a lot of young folks, lots of ages, but lots of young folks that were marching in those rallies over the weekend, the March for Our Lives rallies. Well, there's a former Supreme Court Justice, John Paul Stevens, who says they didn't go far enough. Banning semi-automatics, increasing the minimum age to buy guns, that's not enough. He wants to repeal the Second Amendment.
That's right. He says it would be simple and it would weaken the NRA. However, it's not that simple, really. It would require a 2/3 of Congress to say OK and 3/4 of the states in the United States. One of the spokespeople for the NRA said, Justice Stevens, you have been a Supreme Court justice, and I may be a small voice for freedom, but you sure, sir, should be ashamed of yourself.
So the president tweeted, he's got a Twitter account now. He said this, the Second Amendment will never be repealed as much is. Democrats would like to see that happen. And despite the words yesterday of Supreme Court Justice Stevens, no way. We need more Republicans in 2018 and must always hold the Supreme Court. And by the way, as Chris Starwell pointed out, and I did last hour too, this is going to be a huge fundraising moment for Republicans. This is something to rally around, not theoretical. You have a Supreme Court justice, although 97 and out of power, saying let's repeal. You have 500,000, 200,000 people go to Washington and various other cities. There's a real threat for Republicans. That's an action point.
I'd love to hear what you think about it. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz comments about you have to be a certain age to buy
background checks.
Background checks to buy bullets. Let us know what you think.
Indeed. All right, almost 7-Eleven here in New York City, and Jillian joins us with some headlines.
That's right. Good morning to you guys. Let's begin here with a Fox News alert. An illegal immigrant is on the run after escaping from ICE agents at the airport, hopping in a taxi and driving away. This happening overnight at JFK Airport in New York. Agents say he made a run for it after they took off his handcuffs to go through security. Now it's unclear where they were deporting him to. According to reports, the man was previously arrested on a weapons charge. We'll keep you posted. A man with a history of sending harassing letters to the government is behind bars, accused of sending suspicious packages to military bases. We told you about that yesterday. Police say Tan Khan Fan sent packages to more than 5 locations, including the White House and CIA mail facilities. More packages could still be out there. At least one contained black powder and a fuse, but none of them exploded. The 911 dispatch system in the city of Baltimore was hacked for over 17 hours. According to the mayor, someone manipulated the messaging functions within the computer-aided dispatch over the weekend. Critical services were not impacted during that time. The FBI is assisting in the investigation. The systems have been fully restored. Let's look at your headlines. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jillian, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jillian.
Okay.
All right, coming up.
Coming up right now, remember the illegal immigrant who laughed in court about killing 2 California sheriff deputies? Here he is clapping as a jury hands him a death sentence. The aunt of one of those fallen heroes joins us with an exclusive reaction next.
Plus, Michelle Malkin is live on that census controversy and new trouble for Planned Parenthood. Remember that illegal immigrant laughing in court about killing 2 California sheriff's deputies? The jury now recommending Luis Bacamontes get the death penalty for his heinous crimes.
Even as the verdict was being read, he still showed no signs of remorse, even clapping toward the families of the slain deputies. Here with reaction is Pam Davis Owens, the aunt of victim Detective Michael Davis Jr. She is also a retired law enforcement official. She joins us from Reno, Nevada. Pam, thank you very much for joining us. Your family has been through so much. Do you feel like you're getting some justice now that he has been sentenced to death?
Yes, we are so thankful to the people of Sacramento County and the judge there for the verdict that came through.
Pam, your nephew, Michael Jr., was the one that was killed by that man that we just saw in court. Your older brother, or your brother, Michael Sr., died 26 years before his son did, doing the same thing, giving up his life for our country, for service to this country. Tell us about these 2 men.
They were both really wonderful people. My brother he wanted to be a cop from the day he could talk, and his life was law enforcement, and he was working at Narcotics Task Force on the border, fighting illegal drugs coming in when he was killed. And then 2 out of 3 of his sons got into law enforcement and came to Northern California, where my husband and I both worked for Placer County. Michael Jr., we got him a job with Placer County, and that's where he was killed 26 years to the day that his father was killed.
Oh, my goodness. This has been such an ordeal for your family. I mean, just the fact that this guy had that kind of demeanor in the courtroom, how did your family put up with that?
I'll tell you, it was very, very hard. The things that you think and what you want to do, it's been really horrible. And I feel so bad for Michael's two girls and my sister-in-law having to watch all of this with this monster. He's not even an animal, he's a monster.
Yeah, pure evil.
And I do have to laugh. He talked about the officer in Sacramento who retreated from the gunfire as being a coward. Talk about a coward when the cops had him surrounded after he murdered my nephew in cold blood. He ran out giving up, crying like a baby. That's a coward.
For the folks at home that aren't familiar with what he did to your nephew and to also Deputy Danny Oliver, can you tell us what happened on that day?
Danny Oliver made a stop on him in Sacramento on a suspicious vehicle, and when Danny approached the car, he shot him just in cold blood and then started shooting at his partner. He and his wife then carjacked another man, shot him in the head, carjacked, took his car. His wife, who was also convicted, got a life sentence for these crimes, fled to Placer County, which is west up Interstate 80, and Placer County officers were notified and waiting. My nephew was one of the ones. He was working detectives at the time. And my understanding is in Placer County, he stole a police car, and he was in a police car when my nephew responded. He thought he was going toward a police car, and actually it was the suspect who then shot him in cold blood.
Oh my goodness. And now California is a sanctuary state.
Yeah. I'm sorry, all of these officials, the governor on down, have blood on their hands. That's all I can say. They just, it's horrible. I'm just grateful to the people of Sacramento. I was so afraid that we would be like Kate Steinle's family, what they must be going through. At least we did get some justice.
Well, Pam, our thoughts, our prayers are with your family. I'm sorry that you have had to go through so much loss. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for everything that you're doing, keeping this story alive. We're hoping that the Davis-Oliver bill passes.
Indeed.
That's currently in the Congress, and that's why we want to keep this going.
Okay. Pam Davis, thank you.
All right, time now for your news by the numbers. First, 44 pounds. That's how much fentanyl Mexican drug pin El Gordo was caught smuggling into New York City. Nice. Police arresting him in a big sting as he stepped off a train at Penn Station. Hey, I'm stepping off trains at Penn Station. Investigators say it was enough drugs to kill 10 million people. Next, 16 inches. That's how much ice the U.S. Navy broke through using a submarine. The USS Hartford, is one of the two subs taking part in a training drill to test readiness in the Arctic region. And finally, $502 million. That's the new Mega Millions jackpot after no one won last night. Your odds of winning are now just 1 of 3. So if you get a ticket, you're most likely going to win. Now, I'm only kidding. 1 in 258 million. The next drawing will be Friday. And hope you scratch off and are successful.
That would be a Good Friday, and it is Good Friday. Meanwhile, as the gun control debate rages all across the country, it was another weekend of deadly gun violence in Chicago. 1 man killed and 18 wounded. And in 2017 alone, the city of Chicago had nearly 3,000 shooting incidents.
The city has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So is this just further proof that they don't work?
Well, maybe, or they blame it on Indiana. Republican strategist and Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell is here, a Chicago native. And by the way, Gianno, I don't know if you watched some of the speeches on Saturday, but some of them, they had 2 different people talk about the shootings in Chicago, you know, separate from what happened in Broward County.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a gun issue?
No, I really don't. I mean, this is an issue of criminals who are going to continue their criminality no matter what you say or do.
Right.
And you have to have people that can secure themselves. And certainly when you have an environment where people don't know if you have a gun or not, there's people that will think twice about that.
Well, it's just interesting that some of the states that have the strictest gun laws have the biggest problems with fatalities because of guns.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the stats in terms of Chicago.
Why is that? Is it because they're illegal guns are being bought and traded?
I mean, I don't know any criminals that obey the law. If you guys do, just point them out. I mean, that's where this narrative is so false and is so incorrect, and I just don't understand the insanity of those, especially the Democrat legislators in Illinois and then in the city of Chicago, who believe that if you have the most comprehensive gun control laws on the books, that will prevent this gun violence that continues to occur. If you think back to an older gentleman, he was an African-American, or rather African-American Democrat on the south side of Chicago. His last name is Mr. McDonald. He sued the city of Chicago because he could not protect himself. There was a ban on handguns. That changed the landscape for this entire debate across the country, where cities could not overregulate people's use of guns or prevent them from having them. And I tell you, someone like that who experienced people breaking into his house, being threatened, this was a guy who really took the bull by the horns and said, hey, I'm not going to take it anymore. And that made a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, if somebody wants to kill somebody, go back 1 week ago today. I was in Austin, Texas, where somebody was trying to kill people with bombs, not with guns.
Right.
But the gun issue is very personal to you. And you've told the story before. For the folks who have missed it, tell us about your brother.
It is a very deeply emotional story for me. Last year, during Memorial Day weekend, my younger brother was in a car with two of his friends on the south side of Chicago when two individuals walked up to the car and riddled it with 25 bullets. It's always a really emotional
Your brother's
story.
lucky to be alive.
He's blessed to be alive, 100%, and we thank God for it every day. We had to move him out of the city immediately after. Because
you were fearing for his life afterwards?
It's Chicago, yes. The city needs a lot of help, and the fact that the mayor of Chicago refuses to really address this issue, he rather talks about the city sanctuary city
status. How does he keep getting reelected?
I don't know. I'm hoping that won't happen again.
What's your brother's one regret about that night?
He's a legal gun owner, and he wished he had his gun so he can protect his friend, his best friend, who died in his arms.
Gianna, in New York City, it was the Wild West, the Bronx Zoo. It stopped. Crime is ridiculously low, and it's fantastic news. In Baltimore and Chicago, same thing. The cops backed out, and the gangs moved in. Do you want the president to do more, like he promised to do when he was going to get elected? Do you think it's time to send the National Guard in there?
You know, that's a really good question, because after that situation occurred with my little brother, I went to the White House the very next week, and I told him that it's time to keep his commitment. He said if Chicago doesn't stop the carnage, I'll send the feds. And I think it was maybe a couple weeks later they sent in a smaller group, but there's definitely time to do more. And he needs to call the mayor of Chicago out. Every elected official around this country should be calling Rahm Emanuel out. He doesn't care. I've said it before, Black lives don't matter to Rahm Emanuel, Black votes matter to Rahm Emanuel, and this is just another politician who's seeking to get more votes to get reelected and have no consideration with the folks that are in Chicago.
He wanted to catapult this to the presidency. He thought that would be a better perch. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think people see how awful he is, but hopefully the citizens of Chicago will vote for someone else, because having another term of Rahm Emanuel is deadly.
Put the National Guard in there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Telling your story.
All right, 30 minutes before the top of the hour, still ahead. The debate is raging over whether a citizenship question should be on the 2020 sentence, like, are you a citizen? Michelle Malkin has an epic opinion. She joins us next.
And a new Facebook bombshell. Is the social media site listening to you now?
Great.
What a whistleblower just said.
They're trying to scare people. This is an intimidation tactic. Accuracy should always be the North Star. And this is designed to make the census less accurate so that they can pursue a partisan agenda. That is wrong. The plain language of the Constitution in the enumeration requirement says you are to count the number of persons in the United States every 10 years. It does not say count the number of U.S. citizens. They want to change it to count the number of U.S. citizens so that they can engage in very not subtle voter suppression.
So the big question is, with a whole bunch of states now suing the federal government, saying you can't do that, will they? Let's bring in Michelle Malkin, host of Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV. Michelle, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
So the big question is, will there be a citizenship question on the 2020 census? Will you check the box, are you a U.S. citizen? Apparently they started leaving it off in 1950 because they probably wanted more room for other questions because there were so few people in this country who were non-citizens.
Well, as I've said, only in America does a country get sued for asking who's in it. It is complete insanity. And, you know, when you have illegal alien activists like Tom Perez, whose entire history has been one of shilling for amnesty in Maryland and now for the DNC, only in America do you have sworn politicians who have taken an oath of office to uphold the laws and constitution of this country out there lambasting the Trump administration for asking a very simple question. What this is about power. I did plenty of reporting on this under the Obama administration. This is a power grab. And under the Obama administration, they tried to turn the Census Bureau into a massive community organizing experiment. Because what is at stake? Electoral power. The census is used to apportion congressional seats. More people, more seats. And if you can count illegal aliens as part of that, it's no illegal alien left behind. That's what we're really talking about
and
here.
more Medicaid money, too, on top of that, because we have to find out who's here. And plus, Michelle, there's a lot of great people here that have green cards. There's a lot of people here on student visas. Why don't we know them, categorize them? It's a difference. It matters.
Yes, that's exactly right. The other thing I want to point out, of course, is that all of these special interest groups on the left who have used the Census Bureau as a jobs program, and it's exploded through the Clinton administration, the Bush administration, through Obama, are now locked out of that power. You will remember that it was groups like ACORN and the SEIU that were the foot soldiers administering these census questionnaires out there. And now they will not have that. That is why people like Tom Perez have turned into hysterical ninnies about it. Unfortunately, the omnibus the budget bill increased the Census Bureau's budget to $3 billion. Slush fund for those left-wing groups that oppose this administration at every step. I want to ask you, too, about the Planned Parenthood affiliate that is in Pennsylvania that put out a tweet saying, we need a Disney princess that has an abortion. We need a Disney princess that is pro-choice. We need a Disney princess who's an Planned Parenthood ghouls have become. You know what? We need a Disney princess to tell young girls and women the truth about the death lobby, about people like Margaret Sanger, who was the godmother of Planned Parenthood, who advocated eugenics, who thought that the mission of abortionists should be, quote, to stop the multiplication of the unfit. And specifically, they meant black people and people with congenital conditions and defects, people who they considered unwanted life in this country. The other, sort of basic point about this is, can we leave the Disney princesses alone? Does everything have to be the realm of political correctness? Can't we have a safe space from that PC insanity?
Oh, man.
Can you imagine explaining that to your daughters that are playing with that Disney princess doll?
Yeah, trying to change her background.
We get them innocent for as long as we can, please.
I saw, Michelle, I saw one tweet regarding this from somebody who was really offended. They said Planned Parenthood has murdered 3 million Disney princesses in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's wonderful. A wonderful point about the abortion lobby's support, and in particular Planned Parenthood, for sex selection abortion that specifically targets girls. And again, I have to go to the omnibus, the budget bill, because of course that increased the budget for taxpayer subsidies for abortion as well.
Wow. Here's what Planned Parenthood said. Melissa Reed wrote, today we joined an ongoing Twitter conversation about the kinds of princess people want to see in an attempt to make a point about the importance of telling stories that change stigma and championing stories that too often don't get told. Upon reflection, we decided the seriousness of the point we were trying to make was not appropriate for the subject matter or content, and we removed the tweet.
Yes, they should do more than delete a tweet. As the meme goes in social media, delete your account.
All right. Michelle, thank you very
Thanks,
much for joining us from Colorado. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, please write us in. Let us know what you think about that Planned Parenthood story. We're going to hand it over to Jillian, who has some headlines for us.
That's right. Good morning to you guys, following a number of stories. So let's start with this. Reverend Al Sharpton's half-brother charged in a deadly shooting one day after participating in an anti-gun rally. Authorities arresting Kenneth Glasgow and Jamie Towns in the death of an Alabama woman. Police say they thought the woman stole Towns' car, so they chased her down. Towns allegedly firing several shots, killing her. Officers believe Glasgow, Sharpton's brother, was the one driving when it happened. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg agreeing to testify before Congress. It comes amid growing pressure over the misuse of data of up to 50 million users by the firm Cambridge Analytica. This, as we learn, the social media giant is also guessing users' political leanings, and the app may even be listening to you. A whistleblower telling UK lawmakers the Facebook app listens to its users in order to target advertisements. Facebook, though, denies that. All right, to sleep or not sleep with the top sheet? That is the important question. A great debate raging online about the importance of the top sheet. A store owner in New York City says she's seen sales declining for the past 5 years, but a USA top sheet, though, allows for more germs to get on your comforter. So, where do you guys stand in this very important debate?
At a hotel, you need the top sheet.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not touching that comforter. No way.
I think a beekeeper outfit and hotel.
I think the comforter is too hot sometimes.
Right?
So sometimes you only use the top sheet.
Agree with you.
I never sleep without the top sheet.
I always end up kicking off the comforter because I'm too hot, and it's just the top sheet, and it's the perfect temperature.
Of that. Here's Jillian kicking off the comforter. No, we don't? Oh, we don't. Okay. All right, so debate that at home. Meanwhile, 19 minutes before the top of the hour.
Jillian. President Trump scoring a significant trade deal with South Korea in the last day. So what does it mean for upcoming nuclear talks? We're going to talk to the White House National Trade Council Director, that guy, Peter Navarro. He's next.
Wow, find out the inside story and some breaking news. And go ahead, parents, let your parenting legal.
Our parents
Good
had it
job,
so much
Utah.
easier, didn't they?
Hey, kids, just go to school on your own. We're not driving you anymore.
Less than an hour ago, President Trump reacting to Kim Jong-un's secret meeting with China in the last 48 hours. In a tweet, he writes, for years and through many administrations, everybody said that peace and denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula was we don't know where or when, but it's coming.
All right. Well, those are the nuclear talks. They're coming on the heels. Trade Council Peter Navarro. Peter, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, one and all.
So the president has just secured the trade deal with South Korea.
Good news for America. The Korea deal was one of 3 of the worst trade deals in American history, only behind NAFTA and China's entry into the WTO. And the fact that this visionary and innovative president could get a deal like this, what it means, boots on the ground, is the people who make light trucks in places like Detroit can breathe a lot easier because those light trucks from Korea aren't going to be dumped into the market. Folks who make autos in Michigan and the related states can also breathe easier because we're going to be able to sell a lot more cars to Korea. They've lifted some of their non-tariff barriers. Out in Silicon Valley and down in San Diego, where a lot of the pharmaceuticals get made, there's a key provision for innovative drugs that we can sell for medicinal purposes. And then two other things that are really of note. One is that for the first time, we've got a really solid sub-agreement that the Treasury Department is negotiating on currency. As you know, undervalued currencies are used as a very effective weapon to penetrate our markets. And then finally, we put to rest any notion that the president's going to be letting any countries out of the steel and aluminum tariffs, because the Koreans have agreed to a very strict 70% quota on steel and agreed to the 10% tariffs on aluminum. So folks in places like Granite City, Illinois, where we have steel factories reopening, can breathe easier as well.
Great.
So this is historic.
What is Donald Trump doing? He shouldn't be tangling in trade and tariffs. That's going to be who deals with.
It is ironic that this is working out beautifully. I mean, we've had down wages. Along comes the president with the courage and vision to actually do something about it. And guess what? He buried this story on the back pages. This will be marked as a key day in American trade history, because that Korean deal, that went into effect in 2012. It was negotiated by Obama and Clinton, and we saw our trade deficit double. We didn't sell a single dollar's worth more of go offshore, and that's what Donald Trump is trying to turn around. And this deal
an ally with a very liberal leader, and he was willing to deal, and the president got in there. The next big challenge is China. Can you characterize the Chinese talks as progressing positively?
Well, let me say this about the Korean relationship. What's beautiful about this deal is it strengthens our We're going to be presenting a united front. President Trump is the commander-in-chief. They steal our intellectual property, and when our companies go to China, they have to surrender that intellectual property. And in this country, lane, that's Ambassador Robert Lighthizer, the toughest, smartest guy I've met in Washington.
So, Peter, we hope to have you back.
All right. Coming up, the New York Auto Show shifts into high gear. We've got a sneak. Off in 2 days.
And just joining us right now with a sneak peek from the Javits Center in New York, well, is a
That was my
drum
drums.
roll.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Really had a great week here in New York. Let's get right to it. You know, last month, 66% of all vehicles sold on the road. I want to get to this vehicle right here. It's the all-new Lexus UXF Sport, and they launched the UX. This is kind of that sub-crossover utility market, but it's the interior that really sets this vehicle. Of course, it'll be packed with safety and technology as well. All right, next vehicle we are going to talk about is, ready for this? The thing is beautiful. They are targeting the Range Rover market with this exterior look. This thing is a stunner, big aggressive wheels on it as well. I think this vehicle will be in that 40 GMC launching the all-new AT4 here. It's all about off-road vehicles and trucks. This is their Sierra. They're really looking to create an off-road vehicle that will work hard to fight against the things that off-road enthusiasts are looking for, like being able to click on the locker button and lock those tires in for off-roading. All right, Toyota Corolla. As I started to drive the original Corolla, this is their new version, and this is a hatchback, low to the ground, sporty stance, 2.0 liter motor under the hood, a nice touch screen, and of course it's a Toyota, so it will be packed with a variety of safety features as well. Kia showcasing their all-new K900 luxury sedan. Exterior design. On the interior, you'll get a variety of luxury features that really make this vehicle a stand-up. I'm going to close. This thing is a fire-breathing dragon, 16 liters under the hood. The thing is awesome. A lot of
Thank you, Mike. Coming up, a stunning admission from the FBI on the Clinton email investigation.
Plus, you know her, State Department hour or so.
His ticket, so stay.